All right, we have Michael the Magician. We've started, mate.
Yeah.
It's always hard to kick it off and do the right thing in the right way, but I like the cards.
Yeah, let's do the cards.
Yeah, we're on with the cards.
Michael's holding cards because he feels uncomfortable in my studio.
Nah, it's fair. I mean, on camera it looks like a big spacious room, but it's quite claustrophobic. Are we going to do a card trick? Can you chuck me a card?
Oh, you want a card? Just a card?
one.
Any card?
Yeah, any card. Pick a card. Any card.
Memorize it.
And then we got to...
Oh!
What do you got? Where's your magic?
That was pretty much what I had.
Okay, cool.
But you actually did it way better than I did.
Thank you. I try my best. So, for the listeners that may not know the Michael on LinkedIn, and we've got his comrade here as well, video extraordinaire. You may have seen him in the LinkedIn videos.
Kaushik Kumar.
Thank you for saving me. You told me 3 different times, and I've been trying to relive it in my mind, but struggled. But the big space you're really focused on is around the coaching space, and obviously in terms of the public speaking, helping people, pitch their business as well. But not many people have the opportunity to know about Michael.
Oh.
Why are you doing this?
Why am I doing this? One of the major reasons is because I believe that I have my own story to tell, right? So I have a story that I could tell where I could be out there speaking to people around the world. But what I thought was, wouldn't it be better if I could, instead of telling my story 1,000 times, how about I coached 1,000 speakers that told their story 1,000 times? Now, that would have a pretty major impact.
True.
So that's why I do what I do, is to help people who have got incredible stories get out to the world, share them. There's that aspect of it. And then there's the other part, which is the investment pitch coaching, which is obviously where people are asking for $2.5 million in 15 minutes, and they need to articulate it in a way that people want to put their hand in their pocket and give them that, $2.5 million.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's a hard pocket to get money out of at times.
It's a hard pocket to get money out of, especially when you don't know what problem you're solving. So, a lot of the people I'm working with, especially in the investment pitching, they're really good at what they do. They know their stuff really well, and when they get up on stage, they speak in depth about their product and what it does and all that type of stuff, and about them and their features. But they don't speak about problems that they solve, and they don't speak about how it benefits people who are investing. Like, how is this of benefit to the investor? Where's the return for you? They don't do that stuff. So, and for a lot of them, they're introverted, techie maybe. And they just lack that charisma. So that's the area I work with there, is just making them more likable, trustable, and can I work with this person? Do I want to work with this person? So,
I mean, I understand it in theory. Like, it's an essential part is putting others before yourself and conveying in an authentic way where it builds trust. But teaching someone to do that's quite interesting. How do you do that?
Well, I've always joked, right? So it turns out the joke might be true. I've always joked that my superpowers for what I do is slightly ADHD and a non-subject matter expert in that person's field. So the ADHD works that my attention span is pretty short. So if a person's speaking, it'll get to a point where it's like my eyes glaze over and I'm done. And at that point, I'm like, stop, because if you lost me, you've probably lost some of the people you're talking to. And the second one, non-subject matter expert, I have no idea what you're talking about. So when I go in and work with the client, they're like, oh, I'll send you heaps of stuff, And it's like, don't do that. If I have any advantage on knowing what you do, then I'm not one of the audience. The audience is seeing you, hearing you for the first time, so I need to be that person. And if you're speaking and I'm like, I have no idea what you're doing, then so are they. So it's kind of like, I get to do what most people would refuse to do, which is be in a room full of people who I'm like, wow, you're amazing, and go, I don't know what you're talking about. Most of us are kind of like, yeah, I get it. I have no idea, but I don't want to say I have no idea.
Yeah.
My job is to go, I literally have no idea. You've lost me. Dumb it down. Make it simple. Simplify your wording. Like, what does that word even mean? I don't know what that means. So that's my job. That's how I do it.
I mean, I haven't seen it in that side of it. A lack of understanding is actually a strength in the sense that you're experiencing in the way that it's going to be experienced, unless maybe they have specialist people that are there. But for the most part, if you're going in dense, like if you're spending months to prepare for a speech, you're going to know some content and put out some jargon that they may not know on that level, even if they're a specialist. So, but I sort of see superpowers stem from empathy or experiences that you've been through, because it's really just a I guess, a focus that you've put on a certain aspect or a skill that you want to develop, and that's driven by something that's happened. So what led you into the coaching thing? Or like, I know you had a bit of a turmoil upbringing, challenging at times. We can give the spark notes of it, but I think it's important.
Okay, so Orphanage when I was really young, right? So I think I was 4 or 5 years old when I was put into an orphanage, and the orphanage was the Methodist. I'll just get this really clear: the Methodist Children's Home in Christchurch, and around that time it was 1980, and abuse was really bad through that period, and what happened within there is striking. You just remember these certain little things that occur that have a long-term impact. One of them was there was a girl I was sitting with at dinner. So her name was Tina. She used to sit next to us every night, and every night she would vomit into her food. And every night the people that cared for us would make her eat her dinner, including her vomit. So me being me, I kind of, for some reason, one night I was sick, and I was sick in my dinner, and I was kind of sweating, right? Like, I obviously don't want to be eating my dinner. So I snuck off, threw my dinner down the toilet, came back, and it was like, got away with it. It turns out that someone in the orphanage told on me, and I was being bathed at the time. And my carer picked me up out of the bath as a wet child and started beating me, saying, "Why didn't you say something?" And I think from that point in my life, it was kind of like I started to shut down around communicating. Like, it's not good to speak, and tell the truth. And it's not good to get caught doing certain things as well. But I think it just stunted my ability to communicate. That affected me right through school. So through school, I think it could have been potentially something. Oh, here comes the coffee.
Here's the coffee.
You can't do this without coffee.
So you've got caffeine and H2O.
Caffeine and H2O. Thank you so much. Perfect. Thank you so much. Which was a nice little break from what it was.
Yeah.
It was getting a bit heavy there.
Yeah.
Getting a bit heavy. So, as I grew up, it had this profound impact on myself, how I communicated. I got in trouble with the police a lot when I was younger. I actually left school when I was 14 years old. So, all of those things have an impact. I went into physical labour for a lot of my life, and because I had an innate belief about myself that was negative. And it wasn't until I went through a whole bunch of trouble that I ended up outdoor guiding, which put me in my innate skills, which was being vocal, being happy, being jovial, loving, empathy towards other people. And that was the strength that I started working on. And my boss one day said to me, "Right, we're going to have to get you up on stage in front of people." And I remember that experience. It was just horrendous.
Yeah.
Right? It was a horrible experience. I'd been watching people do it so well for so long before me. I knew I could do it as well, but there was that barrier in between, which kind of took me back to my childhood of, why didn't you say anything? So it kind of just grew from there, what I was doing, and then it went into corporate industry. I had a really natural ability to work well, transitioning from outdoor guiding to working with the police.
Oh, yeah?
So full circle,
You knew them well, probably with your bad past.
Yeah. Oh, me and the police, we'll get on great. What was interesting is my boss brought me in because of my background in outdoor guiding, and the police were just going through a transitional phase of implementing performance coaching. And prior to me, they'd been using, your standard management training. And management training had a philosophy that when it came to coaching, performance coaching, you let people make mistakes and then you coach them through, after the process. And the police didn't really deal with that very well, because they were kind of like, if we let someone make a mistake, someone dies, we are on the front page of the newspaper, it looks bad. And I come in and I'm like, totally. In my background as an outdoor guide, we're putting American students off a 200-foot cliff. We don't sort of let the harness slip off and have them die and then go, "Oh, so what would you have done differently?" So when I came in, they were like, finally, someone who gets it. So I kind of coached from that place. From there, I went into TEDx in Christchurch, where I became not many people know this, TEDx is a voluntary role. So I became the volunteer speaker coach for TEDx Christchurch. And then that leads into, just being apparently really good at bringing these stories out of other people. And so it kind of carried on from there, which then went into Lilia, my sparkly sort of claim to fame for New Zealand's #1 speaker coach because of the outcomes that I got with Lilia.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the most, so it was a horrible experience that happened to you, but one of the most valuable things to come out of that is that hardship and understanding that you would have got. There sounds like there's an intense motivation for you to help facilitate people communicating in the way that they want to be heard.
Yeah.
But on that note, while you're talking about the famous, well-viewed, how many views was it? It was quite a few.
Don't quote me. I know it's over 10 million now.
Yeah, that's a fair whack. So how does one go from meeting this young woman and explaining and working through it and taking it to that level of exposure? And then also the aftermath, that would have been interesting too.
The aftermath was huge, yeah. So YouTube, brutal. So Lilia had just written a book, I think Daughter of Gloriaville, and my wife actually was the one who went, I think that we should consider getting Lilia, bringing her in. Oh. And we met with Lilia, we had a bit of a chat, and my wife suggested it. My wife and I were on the speaker selection committee for TEDx, and it was like, we all got the go-ahead, brought Lilia in, and our coaching started. And we'd actually brought Lilia in quite close to the delivery date for TEDx. I think we were 2.5 months out, which is quite close. And so we went through, I think every week we were doing a minimum of 2 coaching sessions, and they were a minimum of an hour long each for 2.5 months. So that's 10 weeks, right? Yeah. 10 weeks, 2 coaching sessions a week, minimum of an hour each. We went through the process, and when Lilia first came, we were having conversations around what she'd talk about. It was like, she was like, it'll be really easy. I'll just take a piece out of my book, and I'll talk about that. And I was like, no. What I want you to talk about is what you couldn't say in the book, because we can read your book, but what is it that you left out of the book? Let's talk about that. And so through that 10 weeks, we went through a process of really digging down into some core stories for her. And the transition that she went through. And what I really wanted her to do was look at it from the perspective of, it's a religious cult. There are things that happen within a religious cult and how they control people. Now that you're out of the cult, what are the similarities you've seen between that world and the world you've come into? Are there similarities? What's transferable? So it's not such a separation. There's a cult here, but don't we have our own cults in other areas as well, where there are rules that we have to abide by? There are outcomes to that. There are things that occur. So that was the process we went through. And heaps of NLP was used through that process. There were heaps of tears, there was heaps of reconnecting, and there was heaps of, all over the place. So we got that tidied up, and then it came to delivery. And one of the things I often say about Lilia that made her amazing is growing up in a religious cult, she didn't have TV. So what did they do? Well, they did theatrical renditions of pieces from the Bible. So there were, over 500 people in the cult. So she was very comfortable standing up in front of an audience of 500 people doing theatre, which was a really, really good skill to have when she came into delivery. So we took that and we aligned it. So we went through a talk, and she started doing stage presence and delivery practice, and we just, she made it incredible. You watch the talk, and it's just like, oh, that's really well done. And then so delivery, we, with TEDx, we get them on stage, give them a prep where we kit them out, big bright lights that blind you, and headpiece for microphone, because if you haven't experienced that before, it's a bit weird. We got her up there, delivered on practice day, and then she delivered on the day, and then it was uploaded to YouTube. And that's where it kind of got interesting, because here she is, formerly from an occult, and it's a Christian cult, and obviously there were mixed reviews to her talk. Yeah, and I'll leave her to talk more about those if that's more for her to talk about, but there was a little bit of, for me and her, how to deal with that as well. Like, how do you respond? Do you respond when you're getting dragged through the dirt a little bit on social media? What do you do? So we both kind of dealt with that.
So what do you do?
Exactly.
Not with her, but in general. I know what I would do, but
so the questions are, do I, how do I get engaged? Do I engage with people? Do I engage with the really good stuff and then ignore the negative stuff, or do I just let it free flow, do its own thing? Do I let people generate their own sort of thing? Do I defend it? Do I not? And the choice there for Lilia was to just let people do what they're doing. Let them communicate. Don't, she didn't have to defend anything within it. The talk is the talk. Leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff, was crazy. It was like, I hate the way she breathes.
Yeah, it's
like,
mad, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with the way she's breathing, But it was just, some of it was silly stuff, but some of it got pretty deep into the, asking questions around religion and stuff like that as well. But I think the vast majority of content was thank you. This is happening a lot. This is more prevalent. I wish there were more people that would talk about it and the way you've spoken about it and stuff like that. Oh, and what's your beauty routine? That was the other one.
Yeah.
Your skin looks so great. What's your beauty routine?
I mean, it's positive and it's also degrading in a sense. Like, I don't get asked that.
Yeah.
We did meet because I complimented your beard.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
I mean, it's not impossible.
Yeah. It's not impossible. It may happen one day.
It could.
Yeah.
But there, just to give a bit of context in terms of that experience, like for myself, it's important to embarrass me so that she's not just singled out. So, and you've shared some deep shit. So I gotta say,
share away. Come on, man. Give us some stuff.
So it's pretty awful, but in comparison, I don't know, but I went to bed till I was 21. Just to jump straight into that affects relationships with women, visiting people, all that sort of stuff, and then also trying to train it. Like I would, they told me it's normal, you'll grow out of it. Never grew out of it, so I was like, okay, let's try something. So they're actually trying to learn how to overcome that, because it feels like glass is being shaken around in my bladder every time if I try to hold it. Yeah, and it's not a disease, it's not an issue. It's just an intense pain. Yeah. So I had to go through that intense pain to expand how much I could hold, and then I'm doing that at a supermarket, and I just push it too far, full on piss myself. And then the whole time I'm just trying to pretend like everything's okay and trying to drop stuff. Yeah. So if I drop it, there's a reason to clean up. And then this girl said to me, "He's like, oh, did you squash a juice box in your pocket or something?" Oh no, she's like, "What's that?" And I was like, "Oh, I squashed the juice box. Oh, I better fix that." But then the whole day I stay with that. Yeah. And it's affected a lot of things, but I've accepted it and understood it. It's just now to give context. So I've been putting out TikTok videos a lot, and I did a speech, and I have problems with leakage and stuff because the plumbing doesn't work. Yep. So I slightly peed myself. I was like, it's good value, just put it out. So I put it out, and this bloke just copy and pasted, how can we respect anything you say when you've pissed yourself? Right. So and how you frame that and how you perceive that is, to me, it's never a personal attack. I always look at why people do what they do. If it's a personal attack, then it's a growth opportunity. If someone's saying some way of which you convey yourself is being perceived in such a way, you can articulate and communicate in a better way. It's a combination of self-love and empathy. Yeah. But in that instance, I'm like, wow, for someone to take that much of their time to copy and paste that, how much immense suffering are they going through themselves with their one, the judgments you assign to others is the foe you have to lie with when there's no one there to save you from yourself. Yeah. So, you got that? Hey, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a different version of it, but yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. But so it's one of the most valuable things for me is that if I'm still judgmental as fuck, and I try my best, so you can swear on this just to feel free. You're safe, mate. You're safe. Safe space. I can't remember what I was talking about. But I
want to just dig a bit deeper.
Oh yeah, go on then. So I don't have cards though, so I don't have that emotional safety.
You have that emotional safety. I've got my. What did you get? I've got an ace. You've got a joker. Fantastic.
Fits me right.
So, because that's amazing. That's incredible. It must have had a huge impact on your life. So, what is the research on that now? Where is that at? What I'm 45. And I'm starting to have what you had.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because I'm at the other end, right? Yeah. It's hard to, I'm waking up all through the night needing a piss.
Yeah, it's prostate.
It's prostate, right?
Yeah.
So, was it prostate as a child? Was that what it was for you?
So I went a lot, like, to try and work it out. Had certain alarms that would go off, like, to wake me up, so behavioural change.
Yeah.
They also put cameras up. The worst part was she put a camera up the back door, and she's like, "Oh, that went in easier than I thought." I was like,
wow.
Thank
That's
you.
what you want to hear, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly, yeah.
what do you do with that?
Yeah, I
Like,
don't know how to process, but I was like, all right, yeah, okay, we'll move on. So they did all the tests, and they never really worked it out. So I just was like, okay, I'll just expand my capacity.
Yeah.
I don't drink before bed.
Yeah.
And I quit drinking for 7 years.
Mm-hmm. So let's go a little bit deeper.
All right. We're
So,
off.
have you identified when did this start? Would be the question you would ask, right? At what age did this start?
Yeah, well, like, because the other point you could look at, is it a psychological thing, you know?
Yeah. That's where I'm going.
No, fair. I don't, like, as long as I can remember, for as ever as I can remember, there are key moments in my life, like when I was 4 years old, Dad had a gambling problem, and then Mum sort of hated who she was to try and, like, manage that.
Yeah.
And so they broke up, and she took off to America for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really angry and, like, psycho as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Got suspended from preschool.
Nice.
Mission accomplished.
Well done.
Yeah,
Well
thank
done.
you. Yeah, thanks. Yeah,
Well done.
well,
Well done.
I'm not good at high fives. It would
No,
be.
that was a
Yeah,
high
we can
five.
do better.
Okay, try it one more. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Well done.
See, we adapt. And then, so she came back, realized, took me over there, and then I was away from Dad for 18 months.
Oh, wow.
So
She had parental separation from both. First your mum, and then your mum takes
double
you away to
whammy.
your dad.
But it gave me a
that's cool.
superpower, but I don't think it affected bedwetting. But
What was the superpower?
Well, it's just like I have an obsession with trying to understand people.
Yeah.
And
I can imagine.
yeah. So, because the thing is, if I can find a way to help people and be of service, it's hard to expend me. You know, it's hard to get rid of me.
Yep.
So the problem, the counter to that is there's an intense anxiety. So there's all the time like overthinking. So I'd had to learn meditation and mindfulness and focusing on the person.
Mm-hmm.
But as a result, because of all that practice, I like to think I take more of an in-depth understanding of a person and understand them more than the general population.
Do you have any perfectionism issues?
Yeah, there's a certain level of paralysis by analysis. So when you talked about like the preparation for the speech 2 to 3 months, I'm like, I'll just turn up and make it up.
Yeah.
Because that's the way to mitigate the fear and the perfectionism.
Yep.
Because there's a huge desire to please and not disappoint people.
Yeah.
So yeah, either I have to have an incremental way I work towards something, or I just throw myself in and work it out.
For a TED, I wouldn't recommend the jump in thing, but
Yeah, some preparation. yeah.
yeah.
God, then.
It'll never happen.
But we're going. I don't know if you're going somewhere with us and trying to unravel some useful tips. But
Oh no. I mean, I always, not often that happens, right? Where it's kind of like, wow. I mean, that's interesting, And for me, it's kind of like, how did I end up where I ended up with what I did? Well, obviously, I had massive abandonment issues, right? I mean, you're 5 years old, you get put in a foster home, an orphanage, and there's a terrible abuse. It's like you must, as a child, there are things that are probably going to, start to impact you. So
self-worth would be hard too.
Well, yeah, and you don't, So for me, I did a lot of study into adverse childhood experience, childhood trauma, stuff like that. I mean, I spoke to a friend of mine, Michael Philpott, who's pretty sure he's a clinical psychologist in Christchurch, and I gave a talk once, and he came up to me at the end. He was like, "I'm so glad you mentioned adverse childhood experience." He said, "I'm really astounded by how many people work in mental health in New Zealand, and they've never heard of the ACE studies." I'm like, what? This is huge in the US, where they've done studies on how our childhood trauma affects our health across a lifetime. Like how childhood sexual trauma is affecting obesity. And I mean, what are we, the second or third highest obesity in the world? So, what's going on in our culture, that's making these things happen.
There's also a counter that bulimia and anorexia, there's an association with rape, unfortunately, because they lost the control. So they try and find control in another aspect to compensate that.
Yeah.
And most of our lives is, like, I don't think people realize how much that trauma has shaped, I guess, their passion and their purpose and what they're doing in life. And then also, like, even if you're the best parent imaginable, like one bloke told me, like, he got pushed on a trolley when he was a kid and he went a little bit too far from the parents, and he took that to mean, oh, they've abandoned me, they don't care. So even if any parent, good or bad, did the best they can with the mind they had.
Oh, yeah, of course. With the tools they had, right? So, I mean, and it takes the impact that it has comes out unconsciously. So, how do you make the unconscious conscious? Let's get into Freud and Jung.
Yeah, Freud and Jung.
Yeah,
do you like shadow work? That's from Jung.
Love it.
Do you?
Yeah. Well, not shadow work, not in the sense of that, but I just have this really simple diagram that I go back to, which is 4 sub-personalities that come out when you're under duress, and you name them. So mine have names. I have 4: Mark, Michael, Mike, Mikey. Those are the 4 characteristics. So, the names that I grew up with as a child through my life as I went through different stages, and how I used those personas to protect myself. Yeah. And the hidden one, which goes way back to ancient Egypt, is Mark. Like, who would have thought? Mark. Where does Mark come from? It's like, Mark's in there. Don't you worry about that. You don't want to see Mark, though.
Yeah, I imagine he's a very... Well, I mean, I guess it's kind of... There's an underlying person, I guess, a misunderstood child.
Oh, totally. And our personas are put in place to protect it.
Yeah.
Yep. But what happens, and this is maybe some of the unraveling of the work I do, is if those personas are left too long in place without being challenged, that becomes the normal. That's who the person is, whereas it's not. It's just a sub-personality protecting the inner child. So what we're trying to do is whittle away a little bit of that for the vulnerability, for the real self to come out.
It's tricky.
Damn, that got deep.
Yeah, I love it. That's my interest.
Yeah.
Because that's the challenge, though. It's like a boxing match with a perfectly matched opponent that's using the same brain against you. And then when you get from one persona and then you start identifying with another one that's not actually the core. So one of the things I'm working on at the moment is that, so one of the things they teach you to deal with fear is framing and how to perceive in such a way so you can cope and get through it. But underlying that is actually just another story that creates another persona.
Yep.
So the objective when you're feeling that fear or the anxiety is to observe the sensation and just allow it to express, and then express that vulnerability with people. But yeah, so you got NLP. So Tony Robbins is a big man of that.
Yep. So's Dr. Richard Bolstead, who's I trained under Dr. Richard Bolstead. I flew up to Auckland for it. So his doctorate is based off the work he did in Sarajevo, Bosnia, where they were doing fast trauma cures for those who had been affected by the war. So he went over there and he trained doctors how to work with patients fast, quickly, just change mindset around post-traumatic stress disorder. So I learned with him, and I was fortunate because Richard Bolstead is more of a therapeutic NLP trainer than a sales trainer. So if you get a sales trainer, they'll teach you how to manipulate people to get something from them. Whereas Richard Bolstead is more about how to manipulate people to get something for them. Yeah.
Do you feel like, so nearly every discipline I come across, so psychology, Eastern philosophy, psychiatry, there's a component that's immensely valuable, and there's things that are inhibited and you need to bring from other places. Like for a psychologist, for example, they have to be really really polished and fake and aren't that authentic, and they can't really show affection and hugs because there's an implication for them.
So there's got to be a professional barrier, right?
Exactly. Do you have another piece of your puzzle? So you got the kid part, you got the NLP. What's your secret sauce? Mate?
What brings it all together? Well, that would have to be Dr. Rich Allen. So Dr. Rich Allen, his doctorate is accelerated adult brain-based learning, specifically how the brain receives, processes, stores, and recalls information. So I was very privileged to spend 6 years following Dr. Rich Allen around New Zealand, Australia, Canada, and the US, and just watching him and training with him. I did specialized coaching with him in Michigan, Detroit. I wouldn't recommend going to Michigan, Detroit. But anyway, so training with him, he was training teachers. So who are the worst people in the world to teach? Teachers. Because like if a teacher needs to learn something, then apparently they're not a good teacher. So for him, it was about taking NLP. So he was the kind of person who, when you looked at NLP and you looked at what Dr. Rich Allen was doing, it was like, he's doing NLP. He just hasn't labeled it, but he's using the same practices that you would use in NLP, but he's using it at group scale. So I then learned how to engage large groups of people fast, how to get them to interact with each other, how to look after them mentally, physically, spiritually, which no one does. That's the missing link. So when you combine NLP with Dr. Rich Allen's work, then you've got this like amazing tool that you can use, that you combine. So I spent 20 years honing that skill myself, and I spent a lot of time teaching other people how to do it as well.
It's a very underutilized aspect. I mean, we talked about cults, but like, imagine if it was a cult that was creating and reinforcing good identity and create, because you can change a person's mindset with this NLP, and then they're going to be exposed to the same stimulus that caused the trauma in a different way. So you actually have to create a sense of community, and I think they use it in timeshare selling, or they do, just to bring down the level.
Yeah, totally. Let's go there. Timeshare selling.
Yeah, well, so what they're sitting around the table, you got two people that don't know what's going on, and then they surround them with people that are moles,
generally called clients.
Yeah, we'll call them
two people that don't know what's going on. Clients.
Yeah, I don't know.
Clients.
I don't know about timeshares, but anyway, we'll call them clients.
Yeah, let's call clients.
So the two potential clients were surrounded by people that were just going to sway their perception.
Yep.
And I think people underestimate the effect of the environment around you. So I think if you wanted to create a better mindset within a person, because I've been exploring this idea. It's my big dream: build a business around emotional success, learning finance, because that's a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, agreed.
So if you create a retreat, then you create the mindset. They're going out in the world, so you actually have to create a community that keeps, I guess, stoking the fire and keeping the mindset.
Yeah.
But there was actually someone else that you helped, because I got to bring them in. There's some interesting stories where it was a completely solo endeavor. And he would go to the bottom of the ocean, come all the way back up at some incredible depths.
William,
yeah. How do you say it?
Trubridge. William Trubridge.
Yeah. I actually watched his video going down, and because freediving's an interest of mine.
It's a crazy thing, right? So I scuba dive.
Yeah.
And there's no... I'm not going anywhere near as deep as he goes. It's crazy. It's insane what he does.
What did he get at over 100?
Oh, I don't actually know. All I know is
with no flippers,
world champion freediver.
Yeah, no, that's insane.
And we got him on stage to speak at TEDx. And again, how does my wife keep coming into this? So again, my wife, Estella, she loves the ocean, right? She's all about the ocean. And she was like, "Oh, wouldn't it be cool if we could get William Trubridge?" And she had the coolest day. So we got William. And he flies into New Zealand. I'd been coaching him online, so I never got to meet him in person for practicing and going over his script development and his talk. But we were doing it all via Zoom or Skype or whatever it was. And he was in the islands somewhere, and he was all brown, and it was really cool. And then he turns up in New Zealand, and my wife's just like, and he's like, "I need to go and buy something. I need to buy a shirt or something." And she was like, "I'll take you. I'll take you." So she's walking into these shops, like Macpac or something like that, and they're like, she gets to the counter and the people are like, "Oh my god, that's William Trubridge," and Estelle's just like, "Yeah, I know," and I'm hanging out with him for the day. So yeah, my wife loved that.
I imagine, but to add value to the audience, I'm glad your wife's enjoying this.
Oh yeah,
it's a great experience.
And she loved it.
But what were the challenges or things that you helped them with?
So the challenges, so not many people know this, and I just give this credit to editors, right? Editors that do all the jobs they do. You get to see the video. You've seen the video of, well, you might not have seen the video of him speaking yet, but I recommend checking out his talk. It's beautiful. It's just hypnotic the way he does it. But what you don't get to see is that on the side of the stage, so you've got the stage, and then on the side of the stage, there's me, and I'm sitting there, and I've got William Trubridge's his script on my phone, and William's there, and he knows 99.9% of his talk. But he wanted me there just in case he, lost a piece or whatever. So we're doing the old classic theatre, line, and I just, give him the line, lead in, so the reason we need, and he'd be like, so the reason we need, and it was beautiful. It worked seamlessly. The audience couldn't hear a thing, and it worked really well for him. Because, no teleprompter or anything like that for TEDx speakers. So if you're ever wanting to get into TEDx speaking, you don't get teleprompter assistance. It's all you. So what people don't know, and what William probably doesn't know until now, is that here's me sweating on the side of the stage as my phone is flashing, the battery light's flashing. And I'm just kind of scrolling, and I'm reading word for word as he goes, and I'm just waiting for my phone to die, and him to go, line, and me to go, wing it. yeah. I've got nothing. And he probably, no, that's not the line. It's like, no, seriously, I've got nothing. But as I say, for editors, well done, because when they put it all together, none of it. It's just beautiful. It's seamless. And like I say, the audience didn't notice either, but it's just incredible, being that integral to someone's experience. I wouldn't want to do it again. Like, normally my heart is beating out of my chest empathetically for my speakers, like I know kind of like what they're supposed to say word for word. By the time you've heard it for 2.5 months, you know what they're supposed to say. They get up on stage, and I swear I'm more nervous than they are. So empathy is a superpower. I don't know about that. It almost kills you every time.
Yeah, there's pros and cons, As long as you can be calm in appearance, at least, in execution.
Yeah. Well, you're doing great.
Yeah. Well, it's actually, people underplay the emotion. Like Mike Tyson, he would obsessively be fearful of his opponent before he got there. And then when he was walking up, his work and his ethic is what gave him the confidence. So I think there is a huge benefit with the emotion. And you did have another challenge and another interesting speaker that was a little bit monotone and also had a wicked accent.
Yeah. So, which kind of leads into who was my first client.
Okay.
When I officially started, because I changed my business structure. So I went from creating bespoke training workshops for organisations like Meridian, Fulton Hogan, stuff like that, and they'd sort of say, we kind of want this, can you create it? And I go, yes, and I'd deliver it, and it was cool and interesting, and I'd have to learn heaps of stuff. And I went from that model where I walk into a room, and there's however many people, 20, 30, 50, and they're sitting there, they're, arms crossed, and all right, teach us something. And I've got to walk in, I bring all my kit, and I'm that person, and my job is to turn all of that around and give them something amazing or bring something amazing out of them. So then Jade Software Corporation contacts TEDx Christchurch and goes, one of our speakers, so he's an international speaker, we pay to fly him around the world, and he speaks for 18 minutes at these gigs, and we'd like him to have more impact. And
nice way of putting it.
Yeah. I'm sure they said it just like that too, with that tone. And they said, "Can you recommend a speaker coach?" And they were like, "Yeah, sure, of course, Michael, right? Who else?" So I get this gig. We figure out pricing and stuff like that, and I'm like, "What am I going to do? Like, how do I approach this? What am I going to do with this?" And it was kind of like, from a trainer's perspective, shouldn't I take all the gear? And it's like, well, no, because what do you do as a coach? And it's like, well, up until now, I've had a pencil and some Post-it notes. And I just, and it's like, surely I can't turn up to Jay Software Corporation with Post-it notes and a pencil. So I did. I just rocked up. And sure enough, so it was Edward Liebenberger. At the time, he was the Director of Technology at Jay Software Corporation. And I got him to start speaking. And within 45 seconds, I just filled out all these Post-it notes. And they was like, bang, bang, put them on the wall. And it was like, cool, these are all the things. I'm like, stop. And he's like, dude, like 45 seconds. You've got enough? And I'm like, I've got plenty. And we just started to unwind what he had. But the thing with Ed, so what you led in with there is, so Ed, 6'3", Austrian, with the facial expression range of like a brick, right? Like there is no range in his emotional expressions. So, and there was a huge amount of incongruence. And Ed's all right with me saying this because I actually did a case study write-up on it, so he's fine with me saying this.
Hey, Ed.
Yeah, hey, Ed. You are fine. Yeah, you're fine with this. So what it was, for example, when he first opened up, he was like, it was, I'm really excited about all of the things that are happening with AI. And it was kind of like, that was the lead-in, and it was just incongruent. So frowning whilst saying, I'm really excited, stuff like that. So obviously the Post-it notes just rolled out really easy. But the other part with what Ed was trying to do, what he was trying to achieve was, he's representing Jade, right? So that one person becomes the face and the voice of Jade. And if that's not warm, welcoming, easy to understand, inviting, then Jade, by default, is not warm, welcoming, inviting, and easy to understand. And that's not what you want for a technology software organization. So, and to go with that, he's speaking for 18 minutes and they're flying around the world, and it's having potentially the opposite impact that they want to have. So we had to turn all of that stuff around. And all we did with that is we threw in some personal stories. So AI, what is AI? So I'm like, what's AI? This is my superpower, right? Like, what's AI? How does it work? And he's like, well, think of it like this. So my 5-year-old son, comes up to me, tells me a joke, and if the joke's good, I'll laugh. And he's like, oh, that was a good joke. I'll put that away over there. Cool. And then he comes to me and tells me an average rubbishy joke, and I'm like, I don't laugh. And he's like, that joke didn't work. I'll put that over there. And then there's always those times where he comes to me and he tells me a joke, and I'm like, don't ever say that in public again. Your mother will kill you. And he puts that in a different place. But essentially what he's doing is AI. He's doing pattern detection recognition. And I'm like, that's a great story. How about we use that in your talk? And he's like, can I do that? And I was like, of course you can. And what happens is his face comes alive. He's animated. He's interesting. He's got this relatable story. And now we have a better understanding of how AI works, right? So it was stuff like that. But the overall thing for him was audience interaction at the end. So he was making it too high level. It was emotionally disconnected. And it was detached because people were, like, I don't know what he's talking about. And then when it got to the end, the MC would get on stage and be like, any questions?
Yeah.
And every speaker wants that. Yeah, nothing. Everyone totally got it. So what we did is we just changed it, and everyone can do this. Here's a little free tip for you. What we did is he had an opening segment that had music in it, which was a video of like the evolution of technology, and it was cool, but there was a music track. And at the end of his talk, he went, word for word, I've spoken for a whole 18 minutes about a whole bunch of different stuff, and no doubt you have some questions, you just don't know what they are yet, and you probably need some time to process what they might be. Have a quick chat with the people around you about any questions that you might have. Go. Music, backtrack again. So give them a buffer to speak under, and now what you've done is you've given the audience time to think about questions they might have, process them in their brain, speak them out loud to someone, and then share them with a group. Because essentially when you ask an audience to speak, they're now public speakers in a room full of 200 or 300 people, and they blurt out some random stupid question that they haven't had time to process. And they feel embarrassed, and it's like, and that's why audiences don't engage. So by doing that, it allows them the time to do that. It respects adult learning. So what happened, to everyone's joy, especially the people that are paying me, was at the end of it, the MC had to get up this time and go, sorry everyone, we've run out of time for questions. You're more than welcome to have a talk with Ed in the break. And he said there was a line of people wanting to talk to him.
Epic.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes complete sense to me. I mean, you're just sitting there for 18 minutes, and then you suddenly got to deal with the social pressure of being able to put yourself out there with a question.
Yeah.
But then do you add a certain, like, give them ideas on potential questions? You don't verbalize it?
No.
But, like, you have on the screen.
No, that's cheating. That's cheating.
Yeah, but I mean, I just never...
Let me just summarize my entire talk. So you've got things...
These 4 key points, yeah.
But, I mean, what it is, right? Because you kind of nailed it. So you've spoken for 18 minutes, and if you're detached, if you're all of those things, when it comes to the Q&A, you're like...
Yeah, brain dead.
I don't even... Like, I was switched off for 90% of that anyway. Of course I don't have any questions, So it's kind of like, yeah. And then if I do have one, how do I interact? Like, even to that point, like, do I do it like this? Do I shout out? Like, people don't specify the response. They don't specify how they want people to engage. Just yell out randomly. Yeah. Or do I teach you to go, so what questions do you have? See how I'm raising my hand? That's how you safely interact. And then they'll go... And you go, cool, nice, what do you got?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like we don't teach people how to be safe in situations. So they do what's naturally safest. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Well, that's the part I was curious, the bow that you could put on top of it. Because, it sounded like, because I look at it from a referral standpoint, like let's say you wanted someone to become a referrer. Mm-hmm. It's a daunting thing, like I'm going to say, Michael's the best speaking coach in New Zealand. You should talk to him. And if
he's just said it.
Oh, yeah, there you go. It's truth. Yeah, clip it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got it?
We got that. Right?
Yeah,
you got that.
You got that?
We all got
sweet.
that.
It's gone viral.
It's true.
But there's an implication and consequence of me putting out there, so you need to minimize that by saying, hey, there's this person that I suspect you'll find interesting. Have a coffee, see how it goes. So then that takes away the social pressure. So that's why I thought I'd chuck that in. But we're reaching the 48-minute mark.
Wow, we're at 48 minutes.
We are. What would be, and you've got a lot of great speakers that you've helped, so they're going to have to check out your website. But what would be a way for, well, what's the thing you want to be remembered for in this podcast, or what people should take away? And then also, how can they find you?
Okay. Oh, this is cool. What people should take away. Next year is going to be a fantastic year. This year's been a tricky year, and next year I'm sure we're all ramping up for next year. So next year, what I want people to take away is, because I get asked this a lot, can I work with you? You know, I don't have a talk coming up, but I would like your help. And traditionally, I'm like, no, I don't work with people in a generalized coaching kind of way. So next year, Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch, I'm looking at running public workshops. Oh, how good is that?
Hey?
That's what I want people to take away.
Okay.
Plus, I want them to take away. The other part is, you know, executives, CEOs that are getting up at these events, and they're representing their personal brand. They're the face of the organisation, kind of like Ed. You know what Ed was doing. He's in that C-suite level. Wouldn't it be great if you could have access to the ex-TEDx Christchurch speaker coach in an environment that was private, you know, a small group of people where you could find out what your flaws were, you know, as a speaker, and you could experiment and play and do it safely and do it in a confidential environment. Well, now you can, because
too easy payments.
We're too easy payments. So next year I'll be running Talk Like TED events as well. So those will be epic 3 days over 3 months events where I work with a select small group of people where they can literally build a talk. And no doubt I'll have the amazing Kaushik Kumar over there videoing them, so they have a epic takeaway video of themselves. Those are the kind of key messages that I'm looking for.
Also, shout out Kaushik for the fade, mate. Whoever did it did a good job. Just to keep you involved.
He looks great.
He saved us from bad audio, so yeah, check him out.
He saves me. He saves me from terrible videos.
Oh, well, there you go.
To add to that, so Kaushik and I, we'll be doing a video later on today, which is our final video in our series of 6. So we're really getting heavily into this video concept, right? Like everyone keeps saying, make videos and they'll come, and it's like, okay, and you'll increase your viewership, you'll increase your views on your profile for LinkedIn and stuff like that. So next year, Kaushik and I are going to try it out. We're going to test the theory. We're going to measure our stats now, and then we're going to measure them as we go through. But next year, we're committed to doing a video a week for the entire year.
All right. No, well, I'll give you a few.
Yeah.
I'll give you the stock footage too if you want to edit it. Go for it.
Yeah.
But I realised as well, we spoke for 50 minutes and I didn't even ask about finance. And we've got to relate it slightly. Don't worry, it's not daunting.
Talk about the money. Tell me about the money.
Well, I'm not here to pitch you on it, but I'm just here to ask you, what's your version of financial freedom?
Financial freedom is being able to do what I want, when I want, how I want.
Cool. All right, on that note, can people do what I want in terms of, like, please rate, review, and subscribe? Because more people get to hear about great speaking coaches.
Sorry, he said that a bit soft.
Begging.
Rate, review, and subscribe. Was that it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Thanks, guys. And also nzaudioeditors.com. They're the guys that edit the audio. Normally it's a lot better because I'm not the one recording it, but usually it's good. Check it out. Thanks.
No worries.
Oh, we're doing handshakes.
Mate,
yeah,
mate.
mate.
Well done.
Presidents. All right, cool.